So, I started yesterday writing a script and actually editing it about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And when I edited it and re-listened to it, I realized it sucked. It was boring. It was lame. I hated it. So I scrapped it and tried something new because I do want to have a little fun with it. I want to have a little more humor. So I'm not gonna beat around the bush. Let's just talk about the topic. Islam is false and incompatible. There are some moral objections. There are some logical objections, but I'm going to dive right into the moral objection. Allah loves child. This might be controversial, but it's true. Now, if you looked at Sahih al-Bukhari, 5134, narration by Aisha, she says that the Prophet that married her when she was 6 years old and consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. Hisham said, I have been informed that Aisha remained with the Prophet for 9 years, till his death. What that means for most people is that if Islam is true, then God condoned child. And obviously, if Muhammad of the Quran condones this behavior, then Allah condones this behavior. Muhammad in the Quran is the arbiter of what is true because he's getting his revelations directly from Allah. If that's the case, then any example he sets would be the prime example. Muslims believe this, that Allah is the greatest example of a human being. Again, if God in the Quran says that you should marry at 6 and you should fornicate at 9, then there should be no problem within Islamic culture to do the same thing, and we see that. You have Yemeni's child bride, 8, dies on her wedding night from intercourse. And this one from Radio Free Europe. But Layla was wedded to Ali when she was 10 years old. He was 15. It was nighttime. I was asleep. My neighbors rang my doorbell, came in, put a ring on my finger. Layla, whose name has been changed to protect her privacy, told RFE Radio Farda in an interview, that's how I got married. Start to see that there are certain aspects of this culture that are just morally repugnant and should be spoken about. Now let's talk about this. Not even in a Middle Eastern country, the pocket of England, where up to 46% of women of Pakistani heritage are having children with their cousins, as study exposes the shock rate of extreme inbreeding in the UK. This is down from a whopping 62%, which is great. They've reduced that. Now, this is the UK. Europe. So not only do we have incest rampant in the Pakistani community, Muslims, we have child brides rampant in that community. If Allah of their Quran is true, this seems to be fine. No issues. Now I, as a God-fearing American, have a little bit of a problem with that. And so should you. Why should we subject ourselves to a lower standard of living because somebody's religion tells you to? You shouldn't. There is no ought there. The ought is, I feel bad. And because I feel bad for their living situation, they should come here and bring their practices here. This empathy, some have named it suicidal empathy, has no place in politics. It can't prescribe anything good. It can only say, here are the things that I want. Here are my subjective values. Here's everything I think about this current topic. This is why after October 7th, the LGBTQ community ended up aligning itself with Palestine. You can't make this up. Empathy towards what they believe are minority groups, even though Muslims make up a majority of the population, Just goes to show that there is no conducive message. The only thing is they believe these people have the same rights that we do and should be here in America. And yes, they do have the same rights that we do when they're in America, but we have no reason to take them. Oh, what? We're getting breaking news now. It turns out Hamas has actually decided to start baking cakes for all the Palestinians after the peace deal was arranged. Let's go over to that now.
Hamas is back on the streets in an attempt, it says, to restore law and order in Gaza and to send a message. In this video, you can see Hamas fighters among the armed men lining up Palestinians they accuse of being gangsters collaborating with Israel. Moments later, they execute them. The disturbing images are part of a long pattern of punishment meted out to suspected collaborators.
Ooh, I'm sorry. Turns out I was wrong there. It doesn't seem that Hamas was baking cakes. It actually was them shooting collaborators in the head. Sorry for that misinformation. Let's keep going. This reminds me of the parable of the scorpion and the frog. And the idea behind that story is there is a scorpion out on a little island, and it's surrounded by a river, and that river's rising. So a frog comes up to the scorpion and says, "Hey, if you stay here, you're going to drown. Hop on my back, I'll take you to safety." The scorpion asks, "Why would you do this? You know I'm a scorpion, I can kill you." And the frog responds, "It's in my nature to be good." So, the scorpion climbs on the frog's back. The frog swims over to the side for safety and lets him off. And as the scorpion gets off, he turns around and stings the frog. The frog asks, "Why did you sting me?" The scorpion responds, "It is in your nature to help, for you are good. It is in my nature to sting, for I am a scorpion." The reason this reminds me of that story is because we are the frog. As Americans, we are the frog. We are letting them in under the guise of liberalism, and we have stark differences in our cultures. For example, I'm against child brides. I'm against incest. I'm against killing gays for being gay, which is, a practice. So why align? Why pretend? Now, there's a logical argument why Islam is false. I'm not going to cover it too heavily in this video. I wanted to focus more on the morals of it. So I'm just going to post this photo here that I actually pulled from Inspiring Philosophy's recent video on the Islamic dilemma. And again, I'm not going to cover it too broadly here. I wanted to stick more to the moral issues that we have and the reason that we can't assimilate. So the long and short of it is, the Quran affirms the Torah and the Gospel. If the Bible's preserved, then the Bible contradicts the Quran, therefore the Quran is false. If the Bible is corrupted, then the Quran affirms a corrupted text, therefore the Quran is false, and therefore Islam is false. I won't cover this too heavily. I think I want to do another video on this. There are other people who do a much more in-depth version of this, like the person I grabbed this from, Inspiring Philosophy, and David Wood. He did a video on Bayesian Islamic dilemma. It's a mathematical argument for the Islamic dilemma. I think they did a very good job on it, so I won't go too in-depth here. I believe the current political dynamic is changing, and with that, religion needs to be spoken about. I don't think it's possible for us to assimilate fundamental Islam into Christianity. I don't think it's possible. It might be possible for some reform, which are typically considered conservative Muslims in the United States, to be properly assimilated and basically adopt Western values, English common law, and abandon the practices of their forefathers. But I don't think most can. And I think Europe is a perfect example of this. I think it's time to stop kidding ourselves. And it's time to be honest. And it's time to say, no. There are better value systems. There are better morals. There are better behaviors. And there are reasons why America has thrived to be what it is. And there are reasons that a bunch of Middle Eastern countries have failed. If you import the third world, you get the third world. I don't want child brides. I don't want incest. I don't want stabbings. You are allowed to say America is fundamentally Christian. And that's it. This is my first video, so I don't know how it's going to play. I don't know if I like the gameplay footage behind, but we'll see. Comment, share, like, subscribe, do all those things. And if you like this, I'll make another one. And if you don't, I'll make another one. All right. Bye.